Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
That's what I get. Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, January 17th, not 18th. I was getting ready to tell my guest that he had the same birthday as my grandmother, but no, today is Friday, January 17th. So do me a favor, hit that share and like button. We have a special brew of Freestyle Fridays today with Darrin Howell. So we're not going to do a whole bunch of big intro outside of the fact that today is my guest's birthday. And so we want to bring him in. I need y'all to hit that share and like button to the folks over on YouTube and Instagram and the folks over on Twitter. Do me a favor. Let's start the day off by wishing this brother a very, very, very happy birthday. Fix the left side of your collar. I'm not going to have you on here. Other side. Other one. Pop it. Pop it. Pop it, bro. It's your
just for you, Java.
All right. How old, Darrin, how old are you?
43 years young. Made it past that 21 by double. You know, I feel good.
Let's kind of just jump right in. Like, how do you feel? Because when you've been on the show and stuff before, you know, you've shared in your story in many spaces that, you know, 18, 19, 21 didn't look realistic for you. So, I mean, you have doubled that. How do you feel? I talk to you, but I'm serious. I'm like, how you feel?
Blessed. I feel blessed. I think, well, first and foremost, good morning to the Java family. Pleasure to always be in the Java Cafe. Thank you for all the love, support, especially during the end of the year. It was definitely a trying one, right? So to sit here today and feel recharged, refreshed. There's going to be a lot of R's used today. I'm rested. I'm relaxed. I've been able to reflect. I ended up doing a retreat, so I'm feeling good today, in terms of just grateful to be here, grateful to be in the space that I'm in. And again, blessed is the only feeling that I can describe. Because the song I listened to today never would have made it. Marvin Sapp. Like, it was just the song that was just on my heart this morning, my soul, to be like, wow, because I know I wouldn't be here in this space if it wasn't for my higher power and knowing you got to give respect where and credit where it's due. And I know that this journey has been one of, like you said, 18, 21, living, being involved in certain type of lifestyle and activities. The reality of making it to 21 or beyond, no one plans to be old. So I feel fortunate that I'm able to be here and just thankful.
It's such a settledness I'm observing in you, to where, because when you got the house, you got your little toy, you upgraded one of the cars, like it was, I observed the in real time realization that like you did this and you're like achieving a lot of life's goals. But when you're talking about it, when you talked about it before, it was like, yo, like, this is really real. Now it's like, yeah, this is what it is. And this is where it's happening. So go ahead.
It's interesting you say that because of the perception of things, right? Like, like you say, we talk. So to just be like, to live in the results of work, right? Like you never actually can appreciate until you're in it. And so for me to be in it, it's just one of those, like, I don't want to be jumping for joy, but that's how I feel inside. I do feel complete. I do feel whole. I do feel secure, stable. And those feelings is like something where if anyone's ever felt that way, you want to be jumping and joyous. But I know that so many people are still going through life, and I don't want to be come off boisterous, right? Like, where it's like, and because I recognize that it's a blessing to be in the space that I'm in, and a lot of people have not, whether it's through decisions or unfortunate situations that have occurred, like, and so there's a side of me that, as much as I want to celebrate, share my testimony, share these blessings, let people know, there's a side of me also that's like, I don't want no one to take it the wrong way. Like, it's not about bragging. It's not about, but it's like, I remember being in church and look at all that the Lord has done for me, right? Like it's like who I give credit to where it's due, but the results is tangible, right? I can feel it. You say upgrade, I'm like, actually just got another car, right? Like it's like so.
So I'm finding out on the show you just got another car, another Mercedes.
Yeah. Long story. We could talk offline about it. It wasn't clear. Yeah.
You went in to get service, and who convinced you? One of the salesmen? Yep, that's what happened.
Yeah. It was just like I felt fortunate to be in a space to be like, wow, like I do have good credit. I do have work history. I do have these things that matter in order to obtain the things that I have. Like, so it's like, why not? And I was like, wow, y'all got to talk to me nice. This is my third one. So it's and that's the blessing, right? Given where I come from, things that I've experienced, like I've joked with people that watch me in the Chevy Kobo. They watch me, they watch this growth. So to be living in it, it feels good. And that's where I'm glad you were able to have space on your show, because I see how busy you've been. For us to just do what we've done, freestyle, just talk and like, given all that's happened, right? Like people are like, wow, how do you keep going? How do you keep moving? And I'm like, well, I got one thought that stays on my mind. The people that are not here would not want me to stop moving. They might want me to slow down, but they're not going to ask me to stop moving.
Let me ask you this, Darrin. If I could park here for a second, because you as a Black man, you, Carlos, and I, and many others have talked about this space. If I could be very blunt, the two you referenced to, the end of the year, Pops and also Miss Terry. And there, as you said, there's a lot going on. Christian, John Barros, his son, Kyrie Ambrose and others. D. Simmons lost his mom. We went over the list. The Minus family is still dealing with the loss of Deja, who, know and have a connection to. How would you advise people to be real about what they're feeling? You've often said there's no pattern on pain. A lot of people talk about the fact that there's no time limit on it either. How are you as a Black man? Because with all that good going on, there is that other side. And there's one other thing I want to park on too, because you should have every right to celebrate yourself. But if we could start with, as a Black man, understands the mental health space, but understands also being a man and a Black man, that sometimes we're not intentional about, we'll say what it is, but we won't address it. How did you and are you managing that as a Black man?
Well, one thing for sure is taking it day by day. Like, I'm living in the day at times of just saying, you know what, am I able to be productive this day? Am I able to contribute to just the process of living? And what I mean by living is saying that, yes, there's stresses of life realities that everybody endure, right? Like, they endure the realities of financial instability and security. They understand the children, relationship. There's just so many different things that go on in an individual's life. And so when I look at all the pain, and as you highlighted, like, there's no patent on it. No one owns it. One thing that I've been able to reflect on is thinking about when you go to the hospital and they ask you, what degree of pain are you experiencing, right? Like just trying to make it make sense while I'm fortunate to still be living. Because again, it's to get to the other side of that pain. It's not going to go away, but I have to feel like I'm in a place where I can be as productive as possible. So for me, it's always been thinking about, all right, have I been in this space before? Have I felt this type of pain before, this degree? And how was I able to overcome that? Sometimes it's with intentional self-care. So as you highlighted, I've learned how to do things that I can just separate myself from everyone and be able to say, let me reflect. Let me take time to myself. Let me interact with those that can relate or understand this degree of pain, because it's the degree. Have you ever felt they're like, you can hit your toe on a corner of a bed? That's pain, right? but then you can experience the loss of life. That's another degree of pain. There's just different degrees of pain. And when I've been able to be fortunate to have people that understands the different degrees of pain that I've experienced that got to the other side, that I can confide in, I can vent to, I can get thoughts and off my chest and reflective moments, because to keep it all built up inside doesn't do me no good. I've learned like you got to just be very selective on who you choose to interact with when you're in that space. Like you can't just be up and out and everyone, because you can get advice that might not be helpful to you getting to the other side. So yes, not keeping it bottled in, not feeling like I can't be vulnerable. If I feel the need to cry, I want to be able to let it go, and it feels good. I get therapy, right? Because I go to therapy.
I was going to ask,
Absolutely.
like, is therapy a part of your, traditional therapy? Is it a part of your toolkit?
Absolutely. Without question, I theme for my sessions at times, because it's been like so much has been going on that I want to dump out, because at times I do feel lonely, that there's some people that I can't really confide in, because I don't know if they can relate, if they can empathize, if they can really get the put themselves in the space to have that level of empathy, to be like,
and
he's just
unbiased,
venting, right? Without bias. So feeling that judgment-free zone that exists with my therapist, like to be able to say like, oh, I done had some real moments of like, listen, I ain't gonna say I wanted to hang it up, but I wanted to make a poor decision that could have a negative impact on my life and others, right? Like there's those emotions that are there from anger, rage, frustration, that are natural human emotions. What you are responsible is your reaction to those emotions.
Yes, sir.
Right? Like I can't just go off and just wild out on somebody because I'm going through something. They're ignorant to the space I'm in. They're ignorant to this. So I've learned how to give disclaimers. Hey, I'm going through this just in case you didn't know. Right? Like there's ways to be able to be informative without being, oh, I need an army of people around me praying. No, I'm gonna get through it. I appreciate the gestures.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But it's not necessarily what's going to help me to get to the other side. And so I've been fortunate to have a platform that I can share. Well, you have a platform that I enjoy being able to share just what I'm going through, in hopes that someone doesn't feel like they're alone in their process, to be like, yo, your body's going to go through some things. It's okay. That
And
means you're human. And so if you're the audience, those that view this get to see like, yes, you can still keep moving. Like my life is about keeping it moving. I don't want to stay stagnant. I don't want to stay stuck. That doesn't mean I got to run a mile a minute. Some days I want to just walk. Some days I feel like I'm going to crawl, but I'm not standing still. That's what's not going to happen.
That was almost a preach there. There was this song out some years ago. If I can, I forgot who originally, was it Martin? Was it Martin? Someone, the song picked it up from someone who said it. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. There's also this other adage of sit, walk, and stand. Sometimes you got to walk. Sometimes you just got to stand. And sometimes you got to sit and just, take it all in. One thing I wanted to go back to, Darrin, because you keep referring to this term, getting to the other side. And I think, and you and I, deal with this a little bit, the end of last year. I'm a little further than you because my reservation for celebration is a little bit less, but that getting to the other side, I encourage you, and you're tempered enough, but you got to celebrate, man, because if you were doing something negative, or other folks not celebrate, but it would be all plastered and I can't. So, I want to encourage you to celebrate the good, which we recently did. And you got some other things coming up that you're going to do annually, but please respond to that, because I know you get the balance, but to hear you say it, that reservation, because, people they don't know the story, as you said. So all they may see is you now, the Mercedes, the, what is it? Slingshot? What's
Slingshot, Mercedes, like you said, all those materialistic things that society defines as being in a successful space, right? Success to me is a peace of mind. I just want to be able to say, hey, I ain't looking over my shoulders. I ain't watching my back. I ain't worried about like getting jammed up, sideswiped. I'm able to take care of my responsibilities. Like that's a peace of mind to me. All these other things is just, well, I've been fortunate enough to obtain. And if you know, I'm very generous. I don't mind sharing. Like I know me well enough in my why. But what you just talked about was like the other side is to me of saying like, am I stuck feeling like this moment of this situation, whatever it is, I can't get past. I can't see the light at the end of the road. I can't, imagine being able to move forward or keep moving. Like the other side is saying, no, I am doing that. I am able to keep moving. I am able to still be productive. I am able to contribute. I am able to be hopefully beneficial or resourceful. Like I'm able to do that in spite of what others will feel. Man, that's too hard to get through. Well, when you ain't got no choice, because I still got things I'm responsible for, things that I have dreams and aspirations to experience and things like, so I have to get to the other side. And so when you talked about like the celebration side, it's like, I thought about it this birthday. This is the first birthday that I don't have nothing that I was anticipating. Oh, let me do a party. Let me take advantage of this. Let me go here. Because what I got to, and me and Emily was talking about it last night. I got to see what death looks like too many times in the last stages of who's interacting with people, who really is around and who matters, who's involved. Not to say that people don't care about people, but in those last days, it's not a lot of people that I see in people's lives. And so this birthday became one of those, like, I just went to DR. I was just in Texas. I just was in DC. Like within 17 days, I think I've been in Massachusetts, maybe 6. Right. So yes, as much as I would love to celebrate with all the people that I've crossed paths with in this thing called life, this was the year I was like, do I gotta create the celebration in order to celebrate? Right? Like is that the only way it's gonna work?
Your birthday. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like I brought up my pops talking with Emily last night, and I was like thinking about the surprise birthday parties I did for him. And I was like, because he mattered. And yes, people were able to celebrate, but it was taking that initiative, taking that next step, not just thinking about an idea, but executing on an idea to be like, yo, it matters. And so so for this year, it was like, I'm good. I'm not stressed. I am in the space I never would have imagined being in. So why would I sit back and be like, oh, what do I want to do? I'm in a position I actually can do what I want. Like I never thought about being in that position. So now that I'm here, I'm just more grateful and appreciative. So it's like, yeah, am I gonna do some things? We're gonna dig into that too, right? I got some ideas for still being involved in community, still showing up, being present, trying to contribute in whatever way makes sense for me now in life. Not what necessarily makes sense for others, but what makes sense for me. And I think that's where I've gotten to, because I've given. I don't have to say it. I have it documented, right? Like I can go Google the giving. But what does it look like when I want to give to myself? And how does that look? And so I'm going to be intentional with it. I'm going to be selective in what issues I talk about, what spaces I'm in, what things that I'm just going to be more intentional. And it has nothing to don't want anyone to feel like I'm better than them. No, I'm now learning what it is to do me. And doing me is not going to look like how everybody, what they say, God didn't have a conference call. Like it wasn't a 3-way.
You saw that meme this morning. What was it? Why are you talking when God called you, there wasn't a conference call. I seen that this morning. I was like, ooh, I think I actually shared it. That was good. And so I want to let you finish that point, but I want to go just a little bit deeper and just ask. Go ahead.
That's because you said, do me, celebrate.
Yes.
You know what it's like to go to a island, walk into a room, huge king size bed.
I seen the video.
Right. Like to me, that's a different celebration.
It is.
And you know what? When you are by yourself, you do have time to reflect. You do have time to reminisce. You do have time to. So when I be like, no, I got recharged. I got rested. I got relaxed. I did everything I needed to do for me. And if you can only imagine, like you said, you've seen the video, but I'm like, imagine being in the space. It's a whole different feeling. And so
I'm not talking to you right now because I can.
but I had to learn that I don't have to do something that's detrimental. I don't have to do something that let me go and be get overly self-medicated. Let me go do something that's gonna cause hurt, harm to myself or others. I don't have to put myself in that position because a peace of mind is priceless. And that's what a peace of mind looks like to me. Like, wow, look at the sun rising. Look, look at the sun setting.
Bruh, there is nothing like it. And you know, you and some other joke. What's up in Miami? What's going on with you in Miami? It is room 1646 or 1648 on the balcony with that sun rising. There is nothing like it. There is nothing
And
like
you don't do it every day, right? Right? You don't get that experience every day. So
Nah.
when you do it, you take it all in, right? You're sitting there being like, man, let me sip. And I only can imagine you sipping on your coffee, just like, I'm here. This is how I got here. This is what this is where I want to go. This
Yes,
is
sir.
where I've been fortunate to be able to do that. And so when my self-care looks, I tell people, I'm like, it's a blessing to be like, no, I'll stop everything, shut things down, hop on a plane, be on an island, and say, guess what? You only live once. It ain't as expensive as people may assume it is. You know, it's called credit. Get it right. You know what I mean? Like there's ways you can spend other people's money and pay it back later. Like it's called all inclusive, right? Like these are things that
a package.
right. It's a package, right? You want to drink, you want to be able to eat all you want. Like there's ways, and it's not as costly when you think about some of the other frivolous things we spend money on and things like that, right? Like to be like, all right, so if people don't know, Cheap Caribbean, you know, great site, flights, hotels, everything, right? Like less than $1,000, less than $500, $600. Like you can have the experience. And again, to me, it got addictive because I'm like, you don't get this every day. I don't get this experience. So when I do get there, oh, I'm rested. I'm recharged. I'm not going all crazy on looking at my phone and emails. I'm not worried about like, so I can come on and be like, nah, I'm good. I'm looking forward to what's to come. Because there's stuff that I got on my mind. I got visions, I got ideas, I got things I want to see if I can turn into a reality. And what I'm learning is it's gonna take people to do that. So I can't be in a bad space trying to interact with people like, man, why do you got an attitude? I gotta be like, yo, I'm my energy's up.
It's and I'll go ahead and say it. Ouch. If you observe, you know, I'm going through a little process of healing from a couple of things, and I've been public about it. But one of my guests a few months ago really called me out. She was like, Jimmy, if you're not all together personally and professionally, we're not all together. Meaning, you know, the audience here. And so thank you, you know, for the reminder of the ouch. I want to cuss you for the fact that I can't satisfy my addiction right now to get. I have not been in Miami since August. And if y'all remember a couple of years ago, it was what, every other week, every 2 weeks.
First off, you put your do not disturb on. Like I've yet to learn how to do that. Like I got an idea. I know how to go to focus and what, but like that's what I enjoy. I get to see how others deal with their self-care, to be like, yo, hold on, what does that feel like just to turn it off, you know? Because what sucks for me about life, like what sucks for me about death, the experience is that life goes on. Yes. Right? When the service is over, life goes on. And it's a different reality when, yes, it's emotional when it's at a peak. People are sharing their condolences and this and that, but then there's this eerie silence and loneliness that comes after. And that's what I was able to just really reflect on, of how do I want to live, because I'm fortunate to be in the space that I'm living. And that's why I'm like, Now I'm going to be real conscious and intentional, and I'm going to do things a little bit more strategic and method. Like, if not, then I'm not going to enjoy living my life the way I want to live it. Others may want you to live a life they want you to live. How do you get to a space where you're like, no, this is how I'm going about my life, and I'm going to do it unapologetically, right? Like, I'm not going to feel, I felt survivor's guilt, right? Where it's like, damn, man, like you just said, I got this, I got that, I'm able to do that. And it's like, damn, this person's still going through what they're going through in their own life journey. I want to be that resource, that kind gesture, that blessing. But then I'm also remembering, like, let me be selective, because some people, givers have no limit. I mean, takers have no limit. So I got to be selective if I'm a giver, because then I find myself feeling like, damn, is this person taking advantage of me? Is this person, only around because of the benefit, not any other reason, right? Like, that's what I got to see with the reflection this time around going into this new year, where I'm like, wow, I looked at that Instagram highlight that pops up for your birthday, and I was like, wow, last year I really did a lot in a short window of time. Like, I celebrated 20 years of being released from jail. I transitioned out of SCIU into the AFL-CIO.
You said CIO. Oh.
AFL-CIO, right? I was able to be involved in electoral presidential campaigns in a couple of states, right? Like, I was able to still, despite the loss of life, be instrumental in the Toys for Tots program. And that, I'm like there's so many things that I can sit back and be like, I remember living based on karma, did something that I'm like, man, I hope this don't come back on me. Like, right. But then it did anyway in some form or fashion. I feel like now I'm dealing with life, the balance of life, as much joy as it's been experienced. Oh, sorrow was on the other side. Sadness was on the other side. Grief was on the other side, right? Like, there's a balance to life. And so to be able, like you said, to get into a space to be like, holiday season's over, Chuck's anniversary death date. Like there are so many memories, right? I could sit back and, like you said, today, unfortunately, a good friend, John Barrows, your son passed. Like, there's pain surrounding the end of the year and the beginning of the year for my life. And so I got to always remember, no, I can keep moving. I've been able to show, like, despite that, I will move on. And not in a way of, I didn't process it. I don't think about what's going on. I didn't just go dig into work and be like, man, let me just ignore these situations. No, I understand. I sometimes go back and watch videos of me crying when I shared, when I read the obituary at Chuck's homegoing service, his memorial service. I can say comfortably, I know pain. I know that, yes, you only can imagine what it is to read 2 obituaries in 24 hours. That's pain.
Yes, sir.
There's no hidden recipe to try to get to the other side. It's saying you got to go through it. And I can reflect on it and be like, you know what? No one called me. No one calls anybody to do those type of activities if you didn't mean something to somebody else.
That's right.
So to be able to sit there and be like, no, I showed my respect to Gloria Fox's funeral, but I couldn't sit through it. So I was like, wow, it's been a lot. 2 days. Let me just pay my respect to her life, because I had my own interaction, but I didn't need another service. I didn't need to be a part of that process. So that's why I'm able to communicate. And again, I love being able to come on your platform, because I know your audience is broad. There's people that do clearly service work that you interview, that I'm like, don't forget, if you don't take care of you, it's going to be real hard to look out for somebody else. You're not going to be able to be the best you. So sometimes be selfish. Oh, hold on. Let me put myself first. I will be back. Don't, because if you don't allow me to deal with me, I'm going to be no good for you.
I ain't going to be no good to me. Therefore, still being, no good to you.
So that I enjoy this opportunity. That's why I was like, you know what? I ain't did no live in a minute. I've been doing my little memes, like just posting to just saying, but that's only to just get people to just think. Like it's like, hey man, if it creates thought, it makes you reflect on something. Hey, that's what I continuously do to keep moving. Cause I'm like, I told my dad before he passed away, I was like, man, you 89 years old. I'm not even half your age.
I had to sit here and do the math for a minute. Okay, yep.
Right? Like to sit back and be like, you've been able to live a life. Like life comes to an end. There's no denying that. I've accepted that long time ago that it comes, but are you able to live a life where you could sit back and be like, you know what? I contributed to being here in the physical form. Or are you just taking up space? You're not doing nothing with yourself, right? And there's people that actually live their life that way. I'm not that's not how I want to live my life. And so I feel like God answered my prayers. He said, yeah, I'll show you got purpose. I've been living in that purpose. I'm appreciative of this understanding, but now I'm also remembering like it's growth now. It's evolved. It's matured. There's a way. I think we talked, and I was like, we're the elders. We're becoming those, right?
Please don't remind me, because Erin said it at the health fair. She was like, or we were doing something, and she was like, Jimmy, we joke and stuff, but we sometimes forget that you're an elder. I was like, really?
Right, like we keep our b-boy hats on, we keep our urban swag, right? Like, but it's like, no, we are really up, like, and to be grateful to be old. Like, I'm now appreciating whoever thought about being old. There was no plan to be old. Right now, I'm like, man, I actually got a plan for some things. There's some things that if you don't plan, will not would be a problem in your later days if you're able to get older, right? Like you got to plan for life. And I've unfortunately or fortunately been able to say I got a plan for death too. I got a plan for making sure that these things, as you just highlighted, I don't want to leave a debt to my kids and they can't take care of it. I don't want to put them in a situation where I got things that they weren't aware of or they don't know how to navigate to be able to take care of things. Like there's things now that I'm like, I got to start thinking that way with life, because if I don't, who is? And who's responsible for doing it if it's my life? Like,
there's a lot there. And I just, a lot of times people may come in and not know our relationship or whatever, but every time you're on, especially in the last couple of years, I sit here, Darrin, I'm sometimes like amazed and in awe, because I still remember the little kid at 451 Washington Street when the people were shouting. You was just sitting there like, what's going on?
Crazy.
But I mean, I've watched the evolution, minimally, in the game. We connected when I got back in City Hall, and I'm sitting here and you're basically talking about estate planning as a homeowner, as someone who has, and it's not the material, but you're speaking to things like generational wealth. Did you?
No.
Oh,
how could I? Right? Like I remember you asked at the anniversary, it was like, how could I plan for something that I didn't know the plan? I just asked a question, right? I said, Lord, if my life has any meaning, any value, prove it. You got to prove it. Man can't help me where I'm at right now.
Sir.
I'm struggling with going this direction. I'm struggling with making this phone call. I'm struggling with this reality. I need help from a source that is not like no other. Like, because who can really understand my heart? Who can understand my pain? Who can understand? And so to then be pointed in the direction of Chuck Turner, rest in peace. Wow. Look at the results of it.
Yes,
like the results is unbelievable. So to sit back and be like, nah, I'm actually living in it. But you want to go for a ride? You want to go hop in the pool? You want to come play pool? Like you want to see the pictures? Like this is the reality. And it's like, yeah, if it's unbelievable, if it feels unbelievable to you, it definitely feels unbelievable to me. Like I'm just going with the flow of it. Like this feels good. It feels good to see a sunrise from a balcony sitting in a cabana. Like it feels good. And yes, as you just said, You ain't been able to satisfy your addiction. It gets addictive too, because it ain't something on the regular. So I'm using these experiences in terms of saying, yes, I lived that 4-block mentality. My view was limited. I understood that. And I said, once I got outside of my comfort zone, sky's become the limit. There's so many avenues that's been able to be traveled down, so many experiences that I can share, but it's in hopes of saying that someone looks at me the same way I looked at those men and women at Strive. And if they was able to do it, I know I can do it. If D's been able to do this, I know I can do this. My plan this year is to take my kids to Jamaica for their 21st birthday. Not because of, because I want them to see
hold
the world's bigger than the block.
Darrin just said, well, he's grandpa, but Darrin just said he got 21-year-olds. Jesus.
They will be in April.
They will be. Yeah, it's only a few months, so we can come to 21. Don't try it.
But what you said, legacy, wealth, like I'm like, yes, y'all got to be working. Jason, he's doing his thing in City Hall. Like my kids is even on the right track. Like yes, it's they could have easily went another direction. They're now and they done been through their share of challenges and experiences, right?
Yep.
But it's to sit back and be like, you're my kids. If I ain't got your back, I got to tell you, listen, life happens. But you can keep moving. You don't have to stay there in that situation. You ain't got to stay in that trauma. You ain't got to stay in that pain. Like, and guess what? As your dad, you can't see me as the example that you too can get through it. You too can keep it. And if anyone, lean on me. Because don't think your dad don't lean on others. You might not see when it happens. But there's some. I look at the Tina Cherries. I look at my therapist. I look at my mom's, my partner. I look at you. I look at there are some people that I know, my sister Mel, I can go to when I'm in a dark space. My guy, Nick, Tyreek. So I don't need to be on social media crying to the world. I don't need to be doing all that. And I don't need that attention. I need genuine attention, genuine love. Because that's what helps to get to, again, the other side. The other side is to say, what's next, D? Let's talk about the holiday event, because that is what's next. That's one thing. That's what's next, right? Like
we're going to get there. And Donna Williams.
I'm looking at the car. Trust me, I'm looking at both to be like, yeah, I want to make sure people realize I am genuinely and truly in a good space because I know how to take care of me. And taking care of me, I'll give you a glimpse of what it has looked like. Oh, wow. He just he falls back. He does it. Yeah, that's the steps I take. It may work for you. It may not. Some people need to be surrounded by. That's not what helps me. But to get to the next activities.
I want to save the toy drive for last because all politics are local. And there's not politics, but local. And we're going to talk about things at home. But I want to talk to you on a national level. As you've mentioned, you've been training and for those that don't know, if I have this right, Darrin, the AFL-CIO is the biggest oversight union in the world?
Yeah, it's the mothership. So the AFL-CIO is the union for the unions. That's the best way to look at it. It's like, so members, workers, right? I worked for 1199 SEIU. They represented healthcare workers, right? Whether in hospitals, nursing homes, personal care attendants, but health workers, right? That's a local. So SEIU 1199 is the local of SCIU, which is the international arm, right? So it's one local under the international arm.
So yeah,
AFL is every local. It's not every. There's some people that are not affiliated, but there are currently before ML. Oh, I can't say before MLK Day because it happened at the conference last week that I was at. The AFL had its annual MLK conference in Texas. The AFL has had 13 million workers in the AFL. SCIU reaffiliated with the AFL, bringing the number to 15 million workers. I work for the Massachusetts chapter of the AFL.
Which is how many?
There's about 800 locals here in Massachusetts. So
what about the work? Okay, the workers you don't know.
The worker count, like 800 local. I'll get the numbers and get it. We'll talk it up. But pretty much look at so SEIU. Well, 1199 total has 500,000 members, so about 500,000 members, and because it's in 5 states, right? In Massachusetts, it's about 90,000, 80,000.
You.
AFL is teachers, plumbers, building trade, right?
Carpentry,
SEIU, carpet, all of it, right? So, and my role is to, as the organizing director, is really to help make sure that people are aware of what others are doing and how they could be in support, and dealing most recently with finding out what is some of the efforts and directions that people will be needing to be aware of as it relates to the incoming administration. Like, what is some of the things that are viewed to be priority as issues, right? Which right now, immigration.
That's where I wanted to go. So let's go there. I wanted people to understand your role in that, because when we talked about it, some people don't get the acronyms and language, like from SEIU, with all due respect, dope. But to now go to AFL-CIO, that's a come up that Darrin had.
Right. So to go from a local to the mothership, right? Like the place that oversees, or at least not oversees, but tries to be supportive to it all, to everybody's area of work, right? Like the AFL is the mothership for doing that. So I'm the organizing director here in Mass, where I'm in communication, where yesterday there was a BTU picket line, right? They did a protest in regards to their contract.
For the paralegals?
Yeah, for the paralegals, right? So they did an action yesterday. But one of the things that I do in my role is inform all the affiliates of these activities of other affiliates that are happening.
They can come and support.
Solidarity, support, and things like that. So that's one of the things that I am tasked with doing. But as you just was highlighting, immigration, right? So one of the things that the AFL has came up with a toolkit, some information that folks should be aware of, that they should share with their members, right? Who may be impacted by the issues of immigrations, of undocumented, and what they need to know in regards to protect themselves, what they need to know in regards to support, what they need to know as in regards to their rights, right? Like people need to know this information so that they're prepared in case they're confronted with law enforcement or any other spaces like that. So what I was just a part of was just getting that information so that I can then disseminate it amongst the affiliates in the groups, right? So that they're aware of, what is their contract language that we can have with the employer when we're negotiating at the bargaining table, right? That can be implemented in. You're not going to maybe cooperate, or you're going to make sure you're in communication with the union if someone comes here and asks to work site raid. Like, there's different responses workers should be aware of, right? In regards to know your rights. One of the key ones is know your right to remain silent. Like,
say that again, because I want to take advantage. You got the training and you're supporting the workers, and we, Sharon, Cornelius, and others are union people in here. Where with you can, please share with the public just whatever it is that because today's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it is what it is. And we've been trying to balance.
So I'll even do one better for you. Within the next couple of weeks, I need to make sure I roll out this information to the affiliates, but I can make sure also that community has the same information. I look at the information like, we don't need to be handcuffing it. People need to be aware so that they're on point with how to respond and engage when this reality. We don't know right now. I call it an airy calm before the storm, because we don't know the approach. There's certain things that are a reality. What are local and state government going to do to provide support to the efforts of mass deportation, if that's the plan? Because the federal government doesn't have the staffing necessarily to deport 11 million undocumented residents. How do you distinguish the status in which somebody is here on? Is it a DACA resident? Is it TPS? Is it an asylum seeker? Like there's different things. And then one thing that stood out the most to me in the training is there are 9 million undocumented residents that are eligible for citizenship. The problem is the process with the application, taking the test and doing all that, right? Like, so if there's 11 million undocumented residents here in the United States of America, and there's 9 million eligible for citizenship, but they just don't have the support to understand how to navigate the process of filling out the application and taking the test and answer, then what are we really talking about? Like this, that means there's a 2 million number, and I really get frustrated when they just like, everybody's a criminal. No, they're not. Like, stop that. Like, that's the worst message you can have. I'm not in fear of walking down the street and being robbed by an undocumented like, that's not the reality that we're living in. And people try to create this boogeyman around the issue, and it's not that, right? And so here's some facts. It's 11 million undocumented residents. Of that 11 million, I've been informed, and again, I ain't the expert in the areas, the people giving me the information, right? So they say 9 million are eligible. So they're not citizens, but they're eligible for citizenship. But
and
they
it's
have to
paperwork.
Right. It's right, which has always been the problem, right? If it doesn't, so that's part of the problem. And then what happens when people are in fear, they go into hiding. So they're not able to be identified to get the information because they're in fear of being jammed up, caught up, sideswiped, right? So they're not even coming out. So there's all this information, and as you know, the saying goes, we suffer due to a lack of knowledge.
Yep. Let me ask you this, Darrin, from what you said, especially, I know most of your familiarity is with SEIU and health workers, but there have been scenarios and information coming out that, let's say, things kick off on January 21st. Folks are knocking on doors, the limited Fed resources they have here. Have you ascertained from the environment that you're in that there have been speculation about the food flow? We know that a lot of our SEIU folks are of different undocumented or coming in from spaces where they're considered undocumented, and they're working. There was that whole thing about quote unquote the black jobs and all that. Are you ascertaining any major hit to the healthcare industry, to food cropping and things like that, where, and there was a lot of conversation about this, where a lot of our undocumented workers will come and work toward their dream, here in America? Have you heard anything that's concerning to you about bracing for something like that?
Yeah, I mean, all is on the table, right? I mean, it's referred to as Trump 2.0, right? He's had the first experience.
He didn't know what he was doing.
Right. So right now, and he's surrounding himself around with
1,000 people ready to go. 1,000 people ready to go on day one.
So these are all concerning. When you just highlighted, certain environments do have a large population of undocumented workers, right? And I love saying that, workers. They are contributing to our economy and our society, right? Like, they're not just here.
And our communities. Let's keep that 100.
Yep. So they so yes, when I think about certain industries, nursing homes, I think about custodial work, like those work environments. How are those workers going to feel in this climate, right? You don't want a work site raid. You don't want to just get jammed up. Oh, I ain't got no ID, no documentation. Let me just grab you. Like, we'll deal with this process once you're detained, right? Like, and that becomes, is there a phone tree, right? Because you got to let people know if you get jammed up. Like there's all these different things that need to be factored in this unknown and uncertainty time, because people don't know. He's not coming in ignorant in that way. And he's surrounding himself with individuals that actually want to execute on his visions, right? So yes, when it comes to farmers, right? Like those work environments, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, look at the work environments where individuals may be at and say it's all fair game for how they may try to do mass deportation, right? I'm not even gonna look at the just going door to door, because they don't have the manpower to do that.
Oh, so they may show up at a hospital. They may show up at because there was something, what entity just let Tate, the TATTE, the little coffee tea shop, I think locally or somewhere, the feds or Social Security or someone had hit them with a list of, this paperwork's not matching up, and they let all of them go.
So when you look at things like I-9 documentation, right, for citizenship, right, when, like, there's certain things that when that audit happens, That's how they're able to know. Oh, we got a few things that are raising questions. We want to see James Hill and Darrin Howell. Right now, we go in front and we can't produce nothing. Detain. Right now, we done got a family. We done got everything. No one's there to pick the kids up from school because now, like,
hold on.
Things that people are not like need to be factoring in when they're preparing for what is your plan, because you need a plan A, B, C, because various scenarios. I remember years ago, I was on the front line in Alabama doing a march out there. They were reenacting the March on Selma. And what was they pushing was legislation that said, oh, we can detain you and stop you just because you look, right? That stop and frisk type thing on steroids, right? You don't look like you from here, right? And that may be the problem. My biggest concern is really the MAGA supporters, where they may feel empowered to move in a certain type of way or interact with populations in a certain type of way, and law enforcement turns a blind eye. Like, I have more of those concerns when it comes to how this issue is attempted to be addressed, because I think there's citizens, unfortunately, that feel empowered to act like they're the martial law out here, right? Like they're law enforcement. So those are the things that I'm more concerned of, is just his support feeling empowered to think that they can engage and interact with people just because they are not of Caucasian descent.
Look, I want to keep us. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you have an 11?
Yeah, but we good.
Okay. I want to. I talked about all politics being local, and I want to talk about a local issue. A local. I said Donna was on. And it was from her post. And you know that Donna and I, some years ago, you and I have done it just off a post. Things happen on post. There's some giving back and intentionality that happens when we put posts up. And she put a post up about the coming together. I will refrain from my commentary. You saw the post. I have to connect you and Donna. I will say this. There is more than a decade, close to 2-decade history of the Drive Boston toy drive. And it's always been this sort of thing of yours to see how we bring people together. One, it helps with logistics. Two, it leaves parents having to, not having to run to, that's a whole nother convo, 5 and 6 toy giveaways. And anyway, thoughts on what you're thinking and how you use your influence, access, everything that you talked about, particularly to the toy drive and what we do for community around the holidays. Are you aware of the buzz of coming together, and what are you thinking?
So yes. Definitely watch.
You're really an old man. You just sat back there and said yes.
Yes. You know what? Because this year is 16 years being involved with the whole Toys for Tots program, giving back to, families, communities, right? Like, it's 16 years. And for the last 4 years have not done the annual holiday event, right? And so to see from the outside looking in and still be involved and engaged and supportive, but to see that, when did it become who can have the largest event? Like I can comfortably say Drive event became the largest event over time, every year being consistent, not trying to be in competition, not trying to project any image for self, right? That's why it's called Drive and not Darrin's thing, right? Like, so the approach to doing it and knowing that there was some learning curves along the way, right? And so to see where it's still being asked, why not the Drive? Why not the Drive? Because what has not Drive done as it relates to the event side of things? We did 10 years in 3 locations. We did COVID. We did every event under all types of conditions and everything. But as you had said, for years, I said, why can't we just do one event? Right? Like, I see where people are getting their resources from. The same place I got mine from, the Toys for Tots program. Shout out to them.
Yes. And the Marines there, and the Boston exhibition,
convention center.
Yeah.
So the convention center for providing the space, the Toys for Tots for their program, and all the supporters that support them. Like, if everyone, and I almost can say everyone, if you've called me and gave out toys, or you reached out to the Toys for Tots program, then guess what? We're all receiving the toys from the same location. So this coming year, I've already been in conversation, and I'm glad I posted the article so people see that I am intimately involved with the program. That I'm going to propose to those that inner circle that if you are doing a large for the public event, you fold into one event. That you be a part of Christmas in the Hood, whatever title it is, but it will be sponsored by everybody. Because it just makes logistical sense. And guess what? The sweat equity that gets physically put in to make sure that people can provide, it's not a lot of people that's at the warehouse. There's very limited. So the goal is that now, if you work with families, if you work with children, if you work with a targeted group,
yes, sir.
Then yes, do your event. But
yes,
the public, everybody come to the public, and you don't have toys for the public,
and you're
relying on. We're not that. That has to stop, and the only way it's going to stop is by inserting this type of understanding, because it could get. Oh, let me see your list. Let me see the service that you to those that you are providing. If you're just trying to do I want to be Santa. That can't happen no more when you're not doing the work at the warehouse. You're not doing the work in terms of getting the donations. You're not doing any of that. And if you want to go do your own thing, you want to call and raise money, and you want to do that, great. But I am very well aware that is not how the majority of people are doing these events. So if you are doing a large event for the public, or trying to do a large event, you are more than welcome to be a part of the single event that will be for the community. Now, everybody else do what you're doing. I'll give an example, like Chic, you do your thing, right? You work with kids all year round. You do parties for those families. That's an example of, you should get the toys, advertise that you're doing it, but limit it to the families that you are engaged with. Do not make it for the public.
You send the email to your clientele list, not just her. I'm just saying in general. Yep.
So that's the way it will be proposed to the Toys for Tots program with the Marines, so that we're on the same page. So if I know, which I think everybody is aware by now, I know if you're doing a public event, or if you're doing one to a targeted population of people you work with, or families you work with all year long. If you don't do that, I can't see what I can't sit back and be stuttering. Yeah, because I'm sitting back being like, this doesn't make any sense. There was 5 or 6 large events on the same exact day that didn't make logical sense. Like, where it's like, what is there a competition? Because there is no, like, if you was out there generating money and that's what your goal was, more power to you. If you're banking on a program that's banking on volunteers and donations, that can't be the same thing. I'm watching.
Hold on. Say that again. I need that on the screen so when I clip it up.
Yeah. And so if you are raising money, more power to you. But if you are relying on the program that is relying on donations and volunteers, we are going to have a different conversation around your event moving forward. And you will be asked, right? And you're not going to be told. No one can make anybody do anything. But what I can do is be responsible for who's prioritized with receiving from the donations that are coming in. And that's what's going to be very, very low. Yo, can you just look out for me just because? For what? My self-care is going to look a lot differently moving forward, because it's going to be like, where is
the stress of bruh?
I know and I refuse. And I watched it. I was just sitting back being like, wow, I'm going through life right now. And everybody is trying to be like, no one wants to work together. Nobody's trying to do this. Like, everybody, it appears, it looks competitive. And I'm like, well, most of you all got your toys or got some toys. I ain't gonna say everybody got all their toys from me. I will not do that, because that's not what it is. I'm saying that if you reached out or you receive from Toys for Tots, then you're a part of the problem. Like, and the solution is clear. Let's just work together, right? Like it's not about, and I'm saying work together, and I think I'm in a position to say work together, given that Drive has held the largest event that people are still asking for.
And the longest.
And the longest. I was like, working together minimizes the headaches that everyone experiences. It does feel frustrating when you cannot provide for a family, doesn't it? It does feel aggravating when people are acting ungrateful and unappreciative for your effort. It does. I get it. So to the larger community, we don't need to meet now, but there will be a meeting called for anyone that wants to be included. I want your logo. I want your brand. I want your name, whatever it is, because it's from us as a community of Boston. So if people can't get with that, you're going to have to, again, you got to circle back to me if you're getting the toys from me, or at least to the program. So it's like, how are you going to avoid the conversation? Like, you're either going to, and if you're not, I'm not going to be the person to put you out there, but I hope somebody comes to, well, I couldn't get toys from Toys for Tots because of what? You weren't a priority. We're looking out for those that are looking out for the community. And so,
you ain't did it. You ain't did it. You ain't.
Right. But no, this is definitely something that, again, we're going to expand on. I would love to have Donna, who else? Liz and Dee, and Big Time, and Mario, and Mac, and all the, like, no books, no balls is an example of someone that's like, no, you should just do your own event. You got more than enough kids right there to do your own event, right? Like, but to say it's for the public, it's not fair. It's not even fair to the kids you service all year round and you provide. Or Donald Houston with his boxing program. Like, there's people that work with kids. Jamal Warren with One Love.
Yep.
You just have you should just do your own thing for those families. But to do the large one,
because you put pressure on yourself. I never thought about the fact that a community within, like, say, One Love, just for example, you know, they want to have their little holiday thing together, but because of the pressure of the public, it's like, well, you know, and again, just as an example, but I will support where I can, and especially if, and I know you'll be able to garner a budget, because I think you more than most, sometimes labors of love are interesting, but I got you, so
yeah. Oh, trust me, there is so much available in a city as rich as ours. Like, it's not organized. Like, that's why I enjoy my job, and the things that I found I feel valued in. It's organized. It's like the willingness to say, hey, why can't we come together? I have an idea around case 2.0, I'm calling it, like, where I'm like, there's a whole community of people that just is like, yo, there's a venue here. Yeah, but we're not going to go into that because I got to do something else. But there's things that there's a couple of things that I want to make sure people are aware of before I jump off. Right, I'm working on a documentary. I'm working on an audio book and a written book. I am also looking at, thank you, City of Boston, for giving me Darrin Howell Day. So as we are going to be seeing a lot of MLK breakfasts and celebrations and things like that, just in the works, I'm thinking about a Darrin Howell dinner where we continue what took place at Darrin Howell Day, of recognizing people that should get their flowers while they can smell them, and doing something annually like that where people can come out, celebrate, recognize other people. So I might not need to celebrate my birthday if I have my own day that I can do a nice little celebration and bring everybody together.
So community, I want to just bring up one question, because we got to do one thing before we go, especially this weekend. And I'm going to take it upon myself, Darrin, as the host. I'm going to facilitate our moment of silence. But Katrina asked a question. The toys that were given out at the Bruce Bowling Building, was that a supported event? We'll get back to you about that.
I'll say more than likely. There's no other.
I think that was the mayor's, the city of Boston, where they gave out 1,800 toys to the community. So it's probably, Darrin supports and helps. And so we have to get Darrin off this call. And what we have done since 2020, everyone, is that back in 2020, a lot of people were experiencing families transitioning. Darrin usually facilitates this, but out of honor and respect to Pops Howell and also Miss Terry, I will also name, as best as I can from memory, Christian Barrows, Kyrie Ambrose, Mother Simmons, Deja Minus, Clement, the brother. I had the list here. Hold on, because I want to be respectful. The brother where Sister Toy is at. Here it is. Eric Grant, Mother Simmons, Cole Moment, Christian Barrows, as I said, and definitely Leroy Peoples' uncle, and of course those that are also dealing in LA. And so, Darrin, unique to this time, you will have the moment of silence, but if you have to hop on a call, there'll be a video playing. But sir, we honor you, we honor Pops, we honor Miss Terry, and thank you for being a stand-up brother, exemplifying, dealing with it, but still coming out on the other side. And so, folks, we're going to ask you as a solidarity with us in the virtual space, if you could just put the praying hands, and we're going to have our moment of silence right now.
May his peace be with you till we meet again. May his peace be with you till we meet again. Till we reach that distant shore, and we'll shed a tear no more, no more. May he give you strength to endure till we meet again, till we meet again, meet again.
Hey, everyone, we're back and we're going to wrap up our week. Thank you for tuning in for Freestyle Friday with Darrin. Just a reminder that the Barrows wake viewing is this evening. I believe it's the St. Peter's on the corner of Dudley and not Harrison, Southampton. They're over by Magazine Street. And then also Kyrie Ambrose service tomorrow. The viewing is from 9 to 11, I believe. And I can't believe I don't have my phone. The viewing starts at 9, and I believe the service starts at 10. And so, along with all the other families that we've named, please keep them in prayer, but especially today and tomorrow, the Barrows and the Ambrose families, keep them in prayer. We will see you on Tuesday, the 21st, for regular programming. Don't forget sometime on Monday afternoon, probably about 12:30. I'm not exactly sure, but Anthony Davis and I are going to go live and sort of listen to the inauguration speech of, y'all know my opinion and my descriptors. So with that being said, thank you all for being here with us today. Oh, you see, y'all worked out an hour and a half, 90 minutes today. I'm sure my mother or Sharon or one of them has the time. Ma, I just said that my mother or one of them have that. You all get an hour today, an hour and a half for a special Freestyle Friday. I believe that is it. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Where is my phone? We'll see y'all on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Or Monday afternoon, but regular program Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We have a guest. And that's it for me. Have a great day, everybody. And I appreciate all of you. Monday afternoon, yes. Tuesday morning, we're coming in. Be intentional about your self-care over these next few weeks. Find yourself in purposeful joy. Side note, some of you may have seen, I got triggered yesterday for some things with GBH. An email went out the night before. One of their producers was on my brother's radio station, and I got tagged and watched the interview. And so, but I'm being more intentional about my joy. Some of us will be coming together this Sunday night for the Embrace Boston Sneaker Ball. Wow, it's snowing. But be intentional about your joy. Be intentional about hydrating, drinking water, and resting. I've already had 4 cups this morning. I'm doing good. And that's a huge accomplishment for me. Also, for those that are mourning still, and especially those this weekend, especially to drink extra water. When your body, when you're mourning and you're grieving, the body keeps count, and it actually builds up toxins when we're stressing, and they go somewhere. The best, and I used to say this in trauma spaces, so excuse the vernacular. You need to pee and flush those toxins out as a result of what you're dealing with and them building up in the body. Eat. Sleep. Shout out to Sister Serena, who reached out and said, but what if you can't? Try to, even if you're sitting somewhere and laying quiet and just giving yourself some time. Thoughts may be racing, you may cry, but the intentionality of at least trying to settle yourself, even if you can't sleep, is beneficial to your self-care. So we'll see you on Monday at 10 a.m. for regular programming, but don't forget Monday afternoon. Thank all of you for being here today, and have a great, safe weekend, everybody. I love all of you. Peace.